I went to a government school in Bombay, and I don't think it gave me the place to be who I was or just experience learning the way I wanted to. It wasn't like most government schools, the learning wasn't customized, it wasn't an environment for students to excel. I think college was a great experience. It helped me, it let me question, it gave me a space to ask questions, it gave me a peer group that was also questioning society the way I was, and I wanted that environment for my girls as well, because I know they are limited by the same challenges that were limiting me. I'd been a student of history, and I'd seen like real change happen in society. So I knew it was possible. With education, you don't level the playing field, but you give people a better chance to fight the unfair fight. I realized really early on in the fellowship that there was also lack of awareness amongst my students about their realities. So yeah, so we had like conversations about like an actual, say there's an actual marathon, and say, you know, there's a set of people who are standing at the start line, and there's a set of people who are standing behind the start line, and there are a set of people who come to they come to the race even after, like when it's over. You know, that's just how society is designed right now. And so somebody just has to put in like a limited amount of effort, and there's some people who just have to work twice as hard because they have to overcome like multiple hurdles to get to the same finish line. This competitive exam that you give in Delhi, after which if you clear this exam, you get enrolled into model schools created by the government. Okay, these are the Pratibha exams, and you give them in grade 8th, and then you have access to really great education for the next 4 years of your life, from 9th through 12th. As they were preparing for these exams, the biggest concern was the distance between their home and the school they're going to. So my girls didn't have the opportunity to say give these exams for 5 schools, but like their male peers did. We just had exposure to, like, we just had access to one school because that is the only school their parents would let them enroll in, if at all. Like 10, like 15 of these girls tell me, you know, Didi, we'll give this exam in like every school in the city, and like, you know, it's a conversation we need to have with our parents, and we'll have it. They go up to their parents and say, no, this is an opportunity and I really want to do it, and this is why I want to do it. And they have these conversations with their parents independently, and if they feel like they've absolutely hit a dead end, that's when they ask me to get involved. A part of our class culture was there were no rules, so there was nothing mandatory. Extended to the level of, you know, you didn't have to be present in the class. So I'd have days when I had like a really well-planned, detailed lesson, and I'd have like a chunk of my class just leaving because they didn't want to attend. So I think, I mean, it even like initially, of course, it makes me sad that these kids didn't want to be a part of that learning experience. But essentially, it made me happy that my kids at least had the courage to challenge somebody who is just like conventionally supposed to have authority in their lives. Like, there were just abstract concepts that they were learning in social science, but it made no relevance to them in life. I could see that was shifting. Just the way we designed our lessons, it pushed them to get real evidence from home, get real evidence from their societies. One of the trends I identified earlier on in grade 7 was that even the kids in the class who had really high reading levels weren't able to access their textbooks or weren't able to access reading material I gave them. In these assessments, they were able to read and comprehend and answer questions, but just when I was giving them their textbooks, when I was giving them some article to read, they wouldn't do it. Over time, I realized that there was just low self-confidence, that they didn't believe in their ability to do things. After we identified that, you know, we just spoke about the I can attitude in class. We had so many conversations about these mindsets, and I was doing these assessments, and I was fried. I couldn't, and I was the only one doing it. I didn't have any other support. So they called it out, you know, Didi, like, you're not practicing growth mindset, you're being completely cynical and you're complaining too much. Even when I was doing the whole TIJ application, they saw I was so apprehensive and underconfident about it. Like we say in class, you know, whatever you do it with love. So this is something that Shiksha, one of my girls, she told me, you know, that you're not doing this, you're not being a part of this process with love, you're complaining so much. So yeah, it's little things, it's, you know, every day when they push me to be my best. We were doing a lesson on the caste system, and it was pointed out to me that I was like teaching my students what to think, not how to think. And I reflected on that feedback for a long time. I thought like initially I thought, how do you like what else is there to think about the caste system? It's cruel, it's oppressive, and that's what we were discussing. But like that really stayed with me. Like if there's a political ideology, or there's a social concept, or there's like if there's any like social evil that needs to be critiqued and or challenged, like whatever opinion my students take on that, or whatever be their stance, that can't come from me. Having opinions and making decisions, but doing it with using their own thought process, using their own moral compasses, using their own cognition and their own set of values, and not letting someone else decide for them. If like even if you go to a non-schooled child and tell them, the dark clouds that's outside, what's going to happen, they'll say it's going to rain, right? That prediction is just, it's so natural. It's just important to make kids aware that okay, I am predicting right now, and having those conversations around what was my mind doing right now, like how was I thinking, and great responses. Like when we were doing, like we were discussing different perspectives on the triple talaq, and we were like making decisions in class. And after we had this decision making, problem solving debrief, like one of my students shared that like it was like what was challenging for me was to actually care about this enough, because this is just something that doesn't concern my life. I'm so apathetic about the triple talaq that while making decision, I didn't feel involved in the whole process at all. Constant effort was for them to see the relevance of what happened years ago. What was the connection between the past and the present and the future, like how decisions people made years ago still affected the lives that they were living, and how decisions they make right now will affect the future generation. I just think as humans, they had certain conventional ideas of what a teacher should be, and like somewhere I feel like I wasn't fitting that frame. And also just I think I wasn't like I wasn't just excelling in the first few months of my fellowship either. Like I was struggling as well. I didn't know what to talk to them about, or I didn't know how to like help them deal with a lot of the challenges they were facing. So I knew I could teach them this subject, but everything else was so difficult. I think it got to a point where I realized that I couldn't avoid it any further. I realized it was the roadblock I would hit again and again, no matter the path I took. So then one day I entered the class and I just spoke to all of them collectively. And I told them, and it was one of those conversations that actually even I told them why I was there, why I entered the class, why I was doing this fellowship in the first place, what I was there, what was my purpose behind being in this class. In hindsight, the most risky decision I took to build this connection was, I said I didn't want to be an authoritative figure in class, and I think that really initially, since that really shed a lot of inhibitions that all of us had towards each other. And these are just set of 65 young girls who behave with me like my own sister does. There's no informal or formal set of rules that they feel like they need to follow around me. They know, and they're very confident with the fact that I am not their only source of knowledge. They know how to even access information without me. They know how to go about learning without me. They have a peer group that's supporting them, that's pushing them, that's keeping them accountable. So in class they'll sit with anyone, they don't mind. But they have a peer group independent of the time they spend in class as well. Just before the social science exam, they sent me a message saying, "No, Didi, we are at Sakshi's house and we're not studying, we're just drinking chai." And I said, "That's perfectly fine, drink chai." It's so they have great support system for people who let them be who they want to be, but also people increasingly who are pushing each other to excellence. I think that's what I'm most excited about. So I think the Hafsa who walked into the fellowship was completely and utterly not self-aware. I could have been staring at myself in the mirror and I didn't know who I was. I was digging up a CV I had when I was in college, and as a core skill I had written teamwork and time management, and those are arguably the biggest things I struggle with. The experience of Teach for India is designed to have a debrief, to have a conversation after every experience. Take a minute and pause and think back and think about how you were reacting, to observe yourself I feel like I still face challenges in this. So I'll need to know after I'm out of the fellowship to see if it's sustained. But I think Hafsa in the first at institute couldn't work with people who worked differently from her. Had I've had the opportunity to collaborate with really excellent people in the fellowship. I was always surrounded by people who were always challenging me, all people who always had great ideas. I think one such person was my school team member Arpita. We both taught social sciences, and her approach to the subject was very different than my approach. Just in terms of what excited us about the subject was also so different. But that really helped me bring a variety to my class. Just one of the best decisions I made in the fellowship was being a part of the content advisors track towards the end of my first year. Just watching people excel pushes me to do better. I think I had that in my school team. I had that in my content circle. I had that, every time I observed Emma deliver a lesson or I planned with her, I knew that excellent things were possible and how not to limit myself. One aspect I'm excited to work on immediately after the fellowship is how to ensure that everyone stepping into a class as a teacher is seeing the success that I just had the opportunity to see. I'd like to live in a world where people are passionate about something, and that can be anything, but that they're passionate towards making the world a better place. I know that the struggle and the fight I'm fighting is not the only fight that's going to make the world a better place. Everyone needs to fight their own fight.